I'm so used to living on my own. I was like, God, let me get you the bus ticket to go back home. I'm over it. Just go home. She was home for 4 days, and that was when she went and got heroin laced with fentanyl, and that's what killed her, and it was on Thanksgiving. And I am mad at myself, and I'm sure a lot of family members will feel this too. I'm mad at myself because I couldn't see past my annoyance in that moment when really what my mom needed was love and care.
Have you heard the saying, the opposite of addiction is connection? We at the Addiction Prevention Coalition know that there's truth in that adage. And so we are fighting addiction face to face, conversation by conversation, creating connection. Here at The Shield, our new podcast, no topic is off limits because there are no limits when it comes to substance use disorder. Welcome to The Shield. This is a time where we talk about how mental health and substance use impact all facets of life. And we also highlight some amazing things that are going on in Birmingham and the state of Alabama to really address mental health and substance use. And I had the privilege of crossing paths with our guest today because she emailed me. And I'm like, is this a prank? So Did
you really think that?
I really was like, is this a prank? So without further ado, with me is radio host and personality, host of Q103.7's
Yes.
morning show on iHeartRadio.
Yes,
Yes?
the Alabama show, and we're
Alabama
on 103.7 The Q, and we're on 3 other stations also.
Are you Alabama only or?
Yes.
Okay. So basically like anyone in Alabama can listen to you?
We're not Alabama. I thought you were talking about the name. See, that's where it's confusing where your name's a state.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We're in Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, and Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis?
Yeah.
But not Nashville.
Not
How'd you get
Nashville.
to Memphis?
There was an opening.
Whoa.
And
okay.
we fought for it. So the goal is eventually I would like to be the girl Ryan Seacrest.
Yes.
And then be all over the place. So we're getting one city at a time.
Let's manifest this.
Yes.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
So seriously, when you emailed me, because I guess it was walk season and you had seen advertisement for the walk or something, you emailed me and said, how can I help?
Yeah, so we do a segment on the show, 3 things you need to know, and I'll look up what's going on locally. And I saw BHAM Now had posted about the walk, and I was like, I want to be a part of this because my backstory is my mother passed away from an accidental overdose almost 6 years ago, in 2019. And so for me, it's just a passion of mine to help raise awareness for addiction. So I went to your website and I was like, contact us. Let's find the person.
Right. So you said a whole lot right there. So we're going to back up a little bit. So have you always, I know because I do listen to you, especially now since I know you, I'm like, I got to tune in the mornings. But for the last 6 years, have you really been using your platform to call attention to mental health? Did it come organically? How, at what point were you like, I need to be open about this? Because not everybody would be open about their mother's passing.
I think even starting, because when my mom passed away, I lived in Seattle and was on the air there at the time. And, we didn't have a funeral for my mom. She passed away and had no money. And so I started talking about it then because getting to talk about her was kind of, I guess, cathartic in a way of being able to speak for her because I never spoke at her funeral. And then when I moved to Birmingham, this is my hometown, I moved back home and I did the first on-air segment I did on the Q was I'm the daughter of a single mother who is a bartender around town. She was super excited for me when I moved away because I left Birmingham and I wanted to break away from the stigma of the single mom that's a bartender and am I going to stay here and get married and have kids? I traveled all over to have a career and I was like, now I'm back home on the station I grew up listening to and I'll tear up. I'm talking about it. I cried saying it. I said, my only regret is my mom, who is my biggest fan, doesn't get to hear my first show. I am going to tear up. Doesn't get to hear my first show in my hometown. And I know she would have been so excited. So I do talk about her But I think it started as a way, it was really therapy for me. I didn't realize it was raising awareness for addiction and mental health until I talked about her and people started calling and sharing their stories and opening up.
And you, like, people will call in with their recovery birthdays.
Yeah.
And you'll give them a shout out. And what you do and how you talk about your mom and just how you talk about substance use, it really resonates with folks, right? Like, even from that very first time.
Yeah, I hope so. And it was really crazy. There were people who called here because this is where I grew up, and my mom was very immersed in the community. People called and knew who my mom was. There were people who,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and that was kind of wild because my mom bartended at a lot of the places around here. And people, if they didn't know my mom from being out, they knew my mom. Maybe she was their server,
Right,
or
exactly,
whatever.
exactly. We talked at length about the impact of substance use and addiction on the restaurant and service industry, and
Yeah.
folks who are very good at their jobs, who that's how they've made their living, and if they get sort of caught up in everything, it's not as easy to say like, oh, just leave your job, right? And like, I mean,
Right.
it is
It's their livelihood.
livelihood.
Yeah.
And many of them, it's like what they're very good at.
Yes. For my mom, it's what she knew how to do. That was her. She got really good at it, and she waited tables too, but that was her skill set, and that's what she was good at, and that was what she knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was a single mom of 3 kids when I was a kid. And so at the time, she didn't have time to take off and go to school and get a new job and a new skill set. She needed money.
What I really appreciate, and this is probably going to make you cry, and I'm not trying to do this, but
It's okay.
what I appreciate about how you talk about your mom, and maybe this is therapy or this is time or a little bit of everything, but like there doesn't seem to be any resentment.
Oh, yeah. Whew. That's a whole
I'm sorry
thing.
if that's like a heavy topic, but like the way you talk about her, it just sounds so loving.
Well, I think this is important for any loved one of an addict to know, because for a lot of years I was mad at her.
Yeah.
My grandmother, her mom raised me, and I remember fights with my mother of just being a bitch to her of, oh, I hate you. Oh, if I die, don't ever come to my funeral. Just because when you love an addict, they do things that hurt you
Absolutely.
in the middle of their addiction. And when you're a teenager growing up, you don't understand that. And when I was living in Seattle, I had a stroke. And
What?
Yeah. When I was 33, I had a stroke. So in 2019, I had a stroke, and my mom took a bus from Alabama to Seattle
Whoa.
and stayed with me for 2 months. And at the time, I was annoyed that
Yeah.
she was there, because I'm like, I'm taking care of you. You were supposed to be my mother.
Where were you? All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then there was a point, she stayed with me for 2 months, and we started I got to know her as an adult, and she stopped being the idea of the mother that I thought she was supposed to be. And I saw her for the person that she was, a single mom at 34 of 3 kids. I don't have any kids. I can't imagine
No,
doing
thank
that.
you.
And like, I really attribute a lot of her addiction. My dad was very abusive to her, and I could talk to her as a person. And, then they found a hole in my heart. I had to have heart surgery. And then my mom took the bus back to Alabama. And this is probably the hurt that I feel from this. I was like, I'm so used to living on my own. I was like, God, let me get you the bus ticket to go back home. I'm over it. Just go home. She was home for 4 days, and that was when she went and got heroin laced with fentanyl, and that's what killed her, and it was on Thanksgiving. And I am mad at myself, and I'm sure a lot of family members will feel this too. I'm mad at myself because I couldn't see past my annoyance in that moment, when really what my mom needed was love and care. And you don't realize when you lose a person that you love how detrimental it is. I grieved her. I still grieve her.
Yeah. Which is completely normal and appropriate.
Yeah.
And you're probably grieving what you didn't have growing up, and
Yeah.
also what you won't have as you continue to get older.
Well, and I'm mad that 2 months, I really feel like this is a divine intervention because the day I came home from my heart surgery, my mom made me a grilled cheese. And that's
Oh,
so
God.
simple, but it's the first time my mom made me a grilled cheese in my whole life. And I was like, my mom did something that was a mom thing. And when she left, I gave her a big hug, and it was really like we were going to be good. That was the beginning of the relationship. And then we didn't get to finish that. And I think a lot of people who love addicts, like I remember growing up thinking, okay, we all know mom will probably die of an overdose if she keeps doing what she's doing and living the life she's living. And in your mind, you kind of harden yourself around that and think that you'll be ready for it when it happens, but you never are. And you never really think that it's going to happen. And then when it does, you replay in your head over and over and over the things that you would have done differently and said differently to the person that you love that's addicted.
Yeah, the grief when somebody ultimately passes away from substance use is very unique from other kinds of grief. And it is not, I'm not minimizing other kinds of grief. But it's very different. And there is a little bit, I'm not saying in your case, but there sometimes is a little bit of relief because you know that their struggle is over.
Yes.
And some sort of guilt and a lot of unfinished business and things left unsaid.
Yeah.
And also like a profound sadness because you mourn not just who they were, but what they could have been.
Yes. Yes. And there are so many people when my mom passed away who knew her before addiction that were shocked that her life became what it was. And there is a little bit of relief, and you feel...
Which sounds so weird.
It sounds so messed up.
And then comes with that guilt.
And you feel guilty for the relief, but there's the relief of... Because mom, towards the end, was in and out of really abusive relationships. We were afraid that her boyfriends were going to kill her. There was so much that you never, or if she was going to go to jail, like mom was in prison.
Phone rings at 3 a.m. and you're like, oh my gosh, like your heart stops for a second.
What's it going to be?
Yep.
And it was so much to the point that when I actually got the call that she died, I didn't believe the person that called me. I was like, oh, this is another one of those crazy times. She's not like whatever, and hung up. And then the people she lived with called me and told me, and I was like, no, this isn't real, whatever, and hung up. And I didn't believe it until finally an hour later, I got a call from the coroner. And I remember asking, are you sure that it's her? Like, are you really sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've definitely talked about this, not recording, but you know, I don't know if you use the word codependent or like what is the word you use if you even have a word, but it's like a lot of us, myself included, like I fall into similar patterns, and I'm always looking for the potential in somebody. A friend of mine who is a much older woman, she's one of my mentors. A couple of years, she sat me down and she was like, you need a partner, not a project.
Yep.
Like you're in love with their potential.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, and it's the thing I love most about you, Nicole, is that you're always trying to help people. Like you're a helper, and you're, you know, if there's somebody in need, it's like, dun, da, 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 I'm here. I am. The day, right?
Yes.
And
you think you can love their problems away.
Totally. And it just doesn't work like that.
Oh yeah. I'm super codependent. I dated my mother. The guy, and he passed away last year too. Not from addiction, but he did struggle with addiction, and he had the same birthday as my mother. They were like, their personalities were so identical. And I remember at one point going, I am dating my mother. I am dating my mother. And I've also had the pattern of dating people who have struggled with addiction. And it's definitely codependency, because I think when you're a kid and you struggle with parents who have addiction, you find little ways to control, like you need control in your life. And you find little ways to try to control it, but you don't realize you're not controlling anything. You're just making your life crazy. We need to pull out the Al-Anon book. I need some Al-Anon meetings.
I know. Yeah, I did Al-Anon for a long time. And then, now I'm kind of trying it, through therapy and my woo-woo crystals and the things like that. Like I'm kind of trying to figure out different paths. But I'm borderline OCD because I just try to control stuff so much. I vacuum like every day. Because I know that I can't control people.
Yes.
So instead, I've tried to start controlling other things and like patterns, and like that's not healthy, but I'm in a lot better space now with relationships.
Absolutely.
All kinds of relationships.
Have you read Codependent No More?
Hello.
My therapist gave me that book
Melanie
the first
Beattie,
week.
yes.
My first week into therapy, she goes, take this book and read it. I was like,
did you ever
bitch, I'm not codependent.
Right. Did you ever do Language of Letting Go, which is like every day it's like little affirmations? That was my morning pee read.
Oh my God.
I would like sit on the toilet first thing in the morning, read the thing, and just be like, I can't control it. I didn't cause it and I can't cure it. But I want to.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a personal question.
Let's
then.
go.
Do you feel like, because since you're saying you're codependent, did you have an addict in your life besides relationships?
It's a great question. I have dated romantically. I've had a lot of people in my family externally who growing up, I never knew what their behavior was.
Yeah.
Now, after some have passed away and as being an adult looking back, I'm like, oh, that's what that is. But my dad was narcissistic.
Yeah.
And that kind of wreaked havoc on my notion of relationships and the power dynamic and all of that. So while neither of my parents was addicted to substances, I think my dad was addicted to power because he lacked such confidence. Yeah. And I think ultimately that's why we do so much young with kids, right? Is trying to instill confidence and belief in yourself and the ability to set goals and be
your own person.
Correct. And I didn't know how to be my own person until I was about 21. And that is actually when my parents divorced and my dad passed away. And I felt this like release that I could be my own person, but then it sort of manifested into a lot of unhealthy relationships. And now looking back on it, like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't think of myself as like a textbook, but like it makes sense.
Okay, can we talk about what did you do to break the pattern of bad relationships? Because I've done it. I've picked addicts, and in the middle of it, especially when you're codependent, you feel crazy. It's almost like you're addicted to the person. And
your cortisol is so high and you're just like on a chaos bus.
Yes, and then you get away from it and you have withdrawals from it, and you do. How did you break that pattern?
Well, you're not supposed to be interviewing me.
I know I'm not, but it's my job. I'm used to it.
It is your job. It's okay.
But I want to know. This is for my own advice.
Well, I think part of it is what you're doing, which you're like leaning into things that you give a shit about, whether it's your animals on your farm, whether it's the causes that you care about. It sounds to me like you have like really amazing friends.
Yeah.
My friends kind of like grabbed me by the shoulders and were like, this is abuse. Like, that's what this is. It might not be physical abuse. You might not have bruises, but like, this is abuse.
Yeah.
And it was. And I, having been in a field where I'm supposed to know these things, right? Like, I didn't realize it until, to your point, I'm like out of it. I'm like, what was I thinking and doing? I also, like, I love my counselor. We see each other every 5 weeks. I'm obsessed with her. I love her. I've never actually met her in person. We're just virtual, and I love her. And I've really leaned into the power of my female friendships.
That's awesome.
Which I didn't always pay attention to, especially when I was like knee deep in the relationship stuff.
Well, and I think a lot of people that are in the relationships, I was one of these people that I would almost feel guilty for walking away, because sometimes an addict, if you're dating an addict, will guilt trip you in the middle of walking away after they've done this horrible thing in their addiction, and they're like, oh, you're leaving me. But I think sometimes you have to walk away so that they can get better, because you don't realize staying with them is actually enabling them.
Right. And I used to have my one boyfriend. I mean, okay, you'll find this hilarious. I have to tell you this. So Elvis, my boyfriend, he's a good one. I didn't pick him. My friend picked him. So that's another thing. I would just say have your friends pick your guys. Okay. So his son is 18, and he's a really good kid. And he is a senior, and he's taking a psychology course.
Okay.
And last semester, he texts me, or we were chatting, FaceTime or whatever. So it was me, him, and his dad. And he's like, oh, hey, Nicole, I have to interview you for a project for one of my courses. Is that okay? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You know, and I'm like thinking like, oh, his son likes me and approves of me. And Elvis is like, what are you interviewing her for? Is it because, you know, she runs a business, or she's a strong woman, or she just moved states? Deadpan, dead serious. He goes, nah, for my psychology class, I need to interview somebody who's been in a toxic relationship. And I'm like,
oh, that's so funny.
I go, excuse me? And he's like, well, yeah, and like you've been in a couple, and you're the only person I know.
No. I would have looked at him and been like, look, I'm not the only person you know.
First of all, I'm dead, okay? Because his parents have been separated for 18 years. And Elvis looks at him and is like, I'm not that bad. Like, kidding, of course, right? Because it has nothing to do with he and I.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sure, you really don't know anyone else that's in a toxic relationship? Not like your dad who's had a million girlfriends, like not anybody else, right? And he's like, no, just you.
Did you do the interview?
Look, so then we agree the next week that I'm get on this interview with him. And we sit down, and I'm like, I gotta ask, like, is there one story in particular that I told you? Because I'm going through the Rolodex in my head, like trying to figure out like which one, right? And he's like, oh, you know that one that like used to like get crazy and like shoot the bow and arrow in your basement? And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I know that one. I'm ready. I'm ready for the interview. And meanwhile, Elvis is listening to this going like, what the hell? And like, I mean, I've matured. What can we say?
Did he write a paper on you after?
And he got an A on the paper.
Did you read the paper?
Yeah, and it was great.
What were his findings? Did he diagnose you?
No. But his findings were just that, you know, there are early warning signs. Right. That there are early warning signs, that my friends and family tried to encourage me to get out of it, that they did try to pull back, because of course we didn't break up successfully the first time. It took like 4, which was one of the questions. He was like, so when you ended it, was that the end of things? And I was like, Dante, way to really dig in deep here, because exactly as you said, you're afraid of what they could do. Their family members sometimes call you and are like, hey, so-and-so's really sad without you, like, or we need to have an intervention. Can you be part? And you're just like, you know,
it's a lot.
How do you extricate yourself? Sorry, this really is becoming about me.
But I love it.
Everyone listening to this is like dying laughing right now.
You needed this.
But it is really hard, I think. And I will also say for me, it's very easy for me to fall back into old behaviors.
Yeah.
Even in right now, the healthiest relationship I've ever been in, it's very easy to start to like fall back. You know?
I think there's something to be said when our parent, because my dad sounds a lot like your dad, is when you, something as a kid missing that type of love, you almost become addicted to relationships and to love as an adult.
Yes. I mean, I was like boy crazy growing. I just couldn't. Yeah.
Love me.
Right.
I'm good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So is that like how you got into radio? Because I know
think
that's
so.
A weird question.
But no, I've thought about that.
Because I love talking in front of people.
Yeah.
Give me a mic and I'm cool.
I think that is part of it, because I grew up not only with a mother who was an addict and kind of in her own little world, but my dad was over here doing his own thing, and I didn't have my parents. And it's a love me thing. It's funny to pick a profession that, and I didn't realize it when I did it, but I've definitely looked back at that over the years and I was always a straight A student,
Yep.
a teacher's pet.
Yep.
Like,
Are we the same person?
probably. Yeah.
And you wanted to be a musician, right? You tried out for American Idol.
Yeah. And then I realized I was not musically inclined. Please don't dig the
We
videos
won't.
on my
We won't.
Instagram.
This isn't like Jimmy Fallon or wherever where they pull out the old clips. We're not going to do that.
Yeah, no, I
What was your
loved
audition
music.
song?
Proud Mary, because it was my karaoke song.
Get out.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I also loved like guitar, and I was this little
Was this
weird.
like Paula Abdul days?
No, I'm not. Oh wait, no. So I didn't make it in front of the judges. It was
okay.
Paula Abdul days because
Okay.
it was right after Ruben Studdard had won, and we had already
all
had
right.
2 idols here.
Yes.
So this was like 2005, 2006, and I was like, I can do this.
Yes.
And I never made it in front of the judges.
Because it's the Taylor guy, the guy
Taylor
with the song.
Hicks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Him and Ruben Studdard. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they brought the auditions here, and it really was just like the arena was full of thousands of people, and they go to different tables. You wait around all day and you go in front of like the pre-producers, and they pick the people that go through. And I panicked. I got up and like just croaked because I had terrible nerves. I was 19 or 20 and it was bad. It
So
was
you
bad.
decided like not to do that, but so how did you get into radio? Like,
So-
I love radio. I'm like that nerd. I used to listen to Casey Kasem.
Yeah.
Like I love like the country music countdowns.
Yeah.
Like I love all that stuff. How did you get into radio?
So I always loved music, and I knew I wanted to work in music, and I was going to school for journalism, and I
Okay.
thought I was going to be a writer for the Rolling Stone. And then I'm in Mass Comm 101, and then our professor says, go interview somebody who's in the media, but not the same media that you are going to school for. And so I listened to, he still does radio here, or I think he just got out of radio and does that. But Mark After Dark on the alternative station here.
Okay.
I remember being in high school thinking, and then in college was when I had to write the paper, I thought he was cute. And so I messaged
Love
him.
that.
The boy crazy part.
Dude, this is
Messaged him, and I was
Yes.
like, can I interview you for my college paper? And he goes, yeah. And then he goes, hey, you should get an internship here. And I was like, okay, cool,
cute
radio
man.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did, and I fell in love with it. And then I never got hired here. And so like a year or two later, I broke up with my fiance at the time,
Oy.
devastated, heartbroken, called my dad and was like, let me come live in your house in California. And I said on my way there, this is how the universe or God or whatever you believe in puts things in place. On my way there, I was like, I'm going to find a job in radio when I get to California. I moved there into my dad's house, and I end up waiting tables. I never waited tables before. I just asked for a serving job and got it. They called me Alabama because of my accent. Spoiler alert, my real name's not Alabama. They called me Alabama because of my accent. And my first day on the job, one of the girls saw the radio guys. There was a radio station behind the restaurant. They came in for lunch, and the girl said, hey guys, meet Alabama. She wants to be on the radio. And the first guy goes, hey, I'm Detroit. They had
Shut
all
up.
just moved to California from other parts of the country, and all of their on-air names were where they were from. And I got an internship, and that was my first radio job. I ended up getting hired. Like literally just
That's awesome.
manifested, and it happened.
And you've been in Seattle, you've been in Chicago, and back here. Am I missing a market?
I started in Fresno, then went to Michigan. I was in Lansing for a while, then Detroit for a while, then Virginia Beach for 4 months. And then that was when iHeart hired me, and iHeart launched a country station. So I was in Virginia Beach. I had lived there for 4 months before they moved me to Chicago. So I didn't even have my whole apartment unboxed or unpacked yet. And I went back. I was like, I just got out of the snow from Detroit, went to Chicago, then stayed there for 6 years. And then I went through a hippie phase. I watched Into the Wild and wanted to do that. So
Word.
I put all of my stuff in storage.
Got it.
Took my dog Stevie Nicks. We drove from Alabama to California and lived out of a tent for a month. And I wrote a book about it. And then I ended up in Seattle and then came back here.
Kind of like
just
it's
word dumped.
But it's kind of like because you wanted to be the journalist for Rolling Stones, you were like living almost famous a little bit.
Yes.
And now you're syndicated. Is that the right?
Yeah, syndicated.
And that's very rare for a lady.
It is very rare for a lady. It's very rare for top 40. I'm really lucky in my radio career. I've made really good connections and had really good mentors. And so the guy who mentors me now, his name is John Ivey. He was in charge of Kiss FM in LA, and he was Ryan Seacrest's boss.
Whoa.
And then he was in charge of programming, top 40 programming for the whole company for iHeart. And now he's kind of retired and stepped back, and he works with 4 morning shows. Ryan Seacrest is one. There's a show in Nashville that he works with, and another show, Miguel and Holly, out of one of the Carolinas, North or South Carolina, and me. And he helped get the show on in other markets. And he's somebody I idolized and have looked up to for years. So
what do you think, you're going to hate this question, but like, what do you think makes you so good at your job? That people listen to you every morning, that people want you in more markets, that people want to mentor you. I mean, if you've got a bigwig guy and he's doing 4 shows and you're one of them.
Yeah.
If Bobby Bones is remembering who you are, like what makes you good at your job?
I don't know if it's necessarily what makes me good, but I think what is important and what makes the show stand out is not being afraid to talk about the uncomfortable stuff. Like, you just have to be honest and blunt. And there's a lot of people out there in entertainment and media who are afraid to talk about the real shit going on in their life. And there's so many people now that want a connection because we all have our crap, and people just want somebody to connect with, and it's okay to have your crap because it doesn't make you a bad person. That, and I think I know when I mess up, and you just have to keep trying and try to perfect anything that you do in any industry. But I don't know if that necessarily makes it good. I think it just makes it relatable.
Like you're approachable and relatable and real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People just want a friend.
Yes.
Especially after COVID. We just want a friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just want friends and animals. You have like a lot of animals. Can you talk just briefly about all of the animals you have?
Hi, my name is Alabama, and I am an animal hoarder. Hi, Alabama.
Hi, Alabama.
I don't know where this started. I think part of it's because I don't have kids. It started with one dog.
Nope, I don't have kids, and I have one dog.
Well, it started with one, then there were 2, and now I see strays on the road, and I'll pick up them. So somehow I have 4 dogs now. The last one was a puppy that tried to cross the interstate on Highway 65. He got hit by a car in front of me. It knocked all of his little front teeth out. I trauma bonded to him because we had a home for him. I was going to rehome him. And I was like, I don't need a 4th dog. And every time I tried to get him ready to rehome him, I started crying, and I was like, I can't do it. And I think some of this, it may be because I've lost my mom and other people that I've cared about, and some of that may be a little bit of that I may need a therapist for. But
do you go to therapy?
Not right now.
Got it. No judgment.
No judgment. But I love
These
therapy.
Animals are therapy.
Honestly, they are. It's so opposite of what I do on a daily basis.
For sure.
Like, I'm so stressed out at work that I go home, and the chickens kind of just...
Okay, so wait. You got dogs. You got 4 dogs.
4 dogs, 3 cats. 12 plus 10 plus 10 plus 4, 30-something chickens. I had 2 geese and a duck.
And I would assume that you would have more if you could.
No.
You're
I'm
full
so...
of
I know.
shit.
I did. I was looking at baby turkeys at Tractor Supply this weekend, and I almost bought them, and I was like, I can't do it. Because I moved to the country, and so I've got the land. My neighbors have goats, so I go play with their goats, and I don't need mine. But we've gone down this rabbit hole right now of hatching baby chickens and saying that's going to be our retirement plan, and he's building coops, and I'm like, oh, I have these bougie chickens now I'm going to sell. Maybe I'll probably end up keeping them.
Well, and we've talked about how cool it would be to have some sort of like a nonprofit or something even for animals, like I mean, that to me, I think is very much in your universe at some point.
So I've always wanted to do this. Don't steal the name. Anybody
We're
listening, don't steal the
don't.
name. This is the copyright
on
right now.
record.
I've always wanted to do some sort of animal rescue and incorporate addiction, like recovering addicts, to help with the animals, because I know that will help. And I want to call it Sit, Stay, Recover. I want to do that so bad.
It would be like a pit bulls and parolees, but instead of like using people that are formerly incarcerated, like using people who are in recovery.
Yeah.
Right.
Because animal therapy is so good.
Yes.
My mom loved animals.
Sit, stay, recover.
Yes.
Love it.
And have like somehow incorporate my mom in it. I found a piece of paper after she died. She had took my notebook one night when she was staying with me and wrote down her goals for the next year. And one of them was to help other people, other addicts, get clean. That was her heart. I feel like that's every addict's heart.
I would agree with that.
They love people so much, and they know how much they're hurting, and they want to help other people who are hurting.
I am just so appreciative of you just randomly emailing us. And then, I mean, you've really helped draw attention, not just to the walk, but you've gotten this podcast on the iHeart platform. And like, we're continuing to think of other ways for you to help, not just APC, of course, but just people who are hurting in this area. And it's really awesome that you are using your microphone.
Thank you.
For good.
Thank you.
You know?
I think it's important to talk about it more, because so many people look at it as this thing to be ashamed of, and family members of addicts get ashamed of it and they don't want to talk about it. Addicts are ashamed of the stuff they've done. They don't want to talk about it. And when you bottle up any kind of shame or secret, it just makes it grow into this big ball of nasty when it's not. And I think talking about it helps to get some of it out of you. And I think it's okay to say, like, we're here, we're trying to help you get clean because we love you, instead of you need to get clean because you're a terrible person. Like, just a shift in the mindset, I think, could help a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Thank you again. Really appreciate everything that you're doing to draw attention to the cause, to help people who have parents who are struggling, have partners who are struggling themselves, like to really shine a light on that, but then to also celebrate the people who are in recovery and are really putting in the work and have changed their lives.
Yes.
And that's a whole other piece of it. And that's what's so great, is that you're kind of helping draw attention like across what's going on.
Thank you.
If you like what you heard, and I know you did, please consider rating, reviewing, and subscribing to The Shield. Thank you.
Thank you.